Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Michigan Week, Part 1.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase.
Okay, welcome. Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Connor Happer of 1620 The Zone is here as well. Exciting week ahead. It's time for Nebraska to get ready for Michigan. We got 12 days of prep for the Big Ten opener. Lots of storylines, 2 blue blood programs, former 5-star quarterbacks on both sides, an intriguing matchup between the coaches if both of them were actually allowed to attend the game. It's going to be lots of fun between now and September 20th, right? Or am I missing something?
Well,
Does Nebraska have a game this week?
Yes, one small speed bump. I suppose we could get into the conversation of who will be better or who will perform better. Will it be Akron or Houston Christian? And I guess
it's hard to perform worse.
Yeah, I'll probably tell you that Nebraska will win by less than 68 points this week, just because
I think Nebraska will take its foot off the gas sooner against Houston Christian than against Akron. And let's be clear, we're not making out Nebraska to be the Green Bay Packers. That's not what we're doing in this conversation by saying, oh, Nebraska's going to take its foot off the gas in the second quarter, or probably not the second quarter, but at the beginning of the third quarter against HCU. Houston Christian, to be clear, has never had a winning season as a Division I program. It's an FCS school, plays in a 5,000-seat stadium, lost to Eastern Kentucky.
Have you seen this?
It's next to a Walgreens. Yeah,
they have like a Walgreens on what would be like the 40-yard line of the East Stadium at Nebraska. Like it's like 15 yards off of the sideline of the field. It's great.
You know, in case somebody gets injured during the game and they need to get like a leg wrap, you know, or some gauze, maybe some Tylenol, you can just walk across the field and go right to the pharmacy.
That's right.
Matt Rhule was asked last week about playing these games, about what he believes the future should be between power conference teams and FCS opponents. And we saw some evidence last weekend. Well, we saw evidence with Nebraska and Lincoln, with Nebraska playing a G5 team. We also saw it in places like Tuscaloosa and Columbus, Ohio, where the teams at the bottom are just way more overmatched right now. And it's going to be that way, and the gap is going to get even wider in the future because of the money being paid to the players to go to the big programs. Now, the gap at the top between the power conference schools might narrow. That's possible. But if you're going to put Houston Christian on the field, or Louisiana Monroe on the field, or Akron against a team from the SEC or the Big Ten that spends $20 million and more on its athletes every year, you're going to have games that look like Saturday night and games that look like what we're going to see Saturday at 11 a.m. at Memorial Stadium when a far, far overmatched opponent comes in. So Nebraska can just like play right through this, use it as to get ready. And it's Michigan week, part 1, as you said.
So, you know what's funny, Mitch? I was looking up some stuff from the first time Nebraska actually executed a game against Akron in late August of 1997. Of course, Nebraska won 59-14. They got their starters up by halftime, and this and this and this. And our friends from Husker Max, they always have the bar down the side where they go through all the articles that were written about the game, and they have pull quotes from various articles. And one of the poll quotes from our good friend Tom Chattel, the Omaha World Herald, was this: "Let the record show that this game wasn't so bad for college football after all." What I'm saying is, this has been a conversation throughout the history of time. This is not new. Teams in the Big Ten or, the top of the sport have been absolutely destroying teams worse than them for years and years and years, and will continue to do so. And honestly, Mitch, I don't even know if the gap is any bigger than it used to be. We've seen some absolutely disgusting football scores before, and we're going to keep doing it. And Matt Rhule made a point when he was asked about this last week, and he's right. This is the route that I would take if I was Matt Rhule as well. They need these games to fund not only their football activities and things like that for basically the entire year. Akron got paid $1.5 million to come to Lincoln as the remake, the redo from the 2018 game. Weekend. They got beat 68-0. That's going to fund a lot of what they do in their athletic department this year. Houston Christian is going to get paid probably close to $1 million to come up and play this game this year. That's going to fund most of what they do for their athletic department at an FCS level for the entire year. So this has been an ongoing conversation forever throughout the history. They're going to play these games and just stomp all over them. Yes, they're going to continue to do that. And everybody does it. And Nebraska is going to, find ways to get good things out of them.
The opposite side of that is that college football today, not in 1997, but today, is moving more toward becoming a professional league. I mean, it is, but it's like the mini NFL at this point because of what the players are earning. And I do believe that the gap, if it's not right now, in short order is going to be larger than what it was in 1997. Remember that 1997 team that beat Akron was the national champion.
Best team in the country, yeah.
Yeah, right there with Michigan. Speaking of Michigan, split the national championship with Michigan that season and beat Akron by 45 points. This Akron team is probably worse than that Akron team, I would guess. This is not a national championship Nebraska team. In other places this weekend, 77-3 Florida State over East Texas A&M, 56-9 Indiana over Kennesaw State. Ohio State beat Grambling 70-0. Tennessee beat East Tennessee State 72-17. Utah Cal Poly 63-9. Texas Tech won 62-14 over somebody terrible that I'm not seeing right now. I think it's getting dangerous, or will be getting dangerous for some of the players on these teams to have to compete in the venues. There isn't like a professional analogy because the Philadelphia Eagles don't play like a semi-pro team. So yeah, they fund their athletic departments. Maybe they should find another way to fund their athletic departments and not subject us to these games and, run their departments in a way that they don't necessarily need to get the $1.5 million payday. I don't know what the answer is, but
what you're probably looking for then is a complete split off between the Power Five and everybody else.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I think it's coming. It may come maybe in the next decade, but I think it's coming.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was, if that was coming either. Then, like you said, those athletic departments, the group of fives and the FCS athletic departments wouldn't feel the pull. Although they know where they stand, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to win based on who's around them. And yes, athletic departments like Nebraska now have $20.5 million to spread throughout their student athletes, and most don't, or most outside of the Power Five don't at this point. But it's always been about who has more money. It's always been about who invests more. It's there is now more teams that are investing quite a bit at the top level, and you don't have the ability to do so at the Akron level.
And investing directly into the bank accounts of the players. And
Right.
you may say that that's happened in the past, but it's now happening on a much more widely seen level. And just it's more prevalent in general. When you get to the place where Oregon beats Oklahoma State, another power program, 69-3.
Yeah.
Like in the gap
they were trying to prove a point there a little bit though.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's power four on power four. Like if that's the gap that exists, that can exist on a given Saturday within the power conferences, then the stuff that's going on when you play an FCS team and you're from the Big Ten or a bad G5 team, I don't think it's great for the sport. I get what it does for those athletic departments, but anyway, I don't know that that's where we intended to go with this conversation here in the first 10 minutes of the pod. But
it's a good conversation. It's worth having. It's a big picture. Like here's what the sport is, because I think there was at least 6 shutouts this week. And most of them were like 40+ to nothing. So yeah, I mean, it's a conversation worth having. I think
it made for, we'll finish with this. It made for a giant party at Memorial Stadium on Saturday night. The beer was flowing, the light show was rocking, and it just made for a huge party in the season opener in year 3 under Matt Rhule. I thought the atmosphere, I thought more people stuck around in the second half because of the new policy that doesn't allow the fans to leave and then come back. So the stadium at 33-0 to open the third quarter, and you got like a bonus two drives with Dylan Rhule still throwing the ball down the field in the second half. Like maybe Matt Rhule felt obligated to keep Rhule in the game because all the fans had to stay too. They couldn't leave and go to their tailgates and then decide not to come back. Or I guess they could have decided not to come back. They didn't have the option to come back in unless they had a second ticket. But it was just a big party, and I guess that's good to do once a year. Twice a year when we're going to see it again this week, that gets to be a lot.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so let's take a break. Couple things we want to get to from some of our friends, including Michigan, who lost at Oklahoma this weekend. We'll check in on Iowa and some other schools in the Big Ten. And I also want to throw this in there, Mitch. What does this picture of the red moon mean? Back after this.
First, a message from Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Supply House's real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. That is a game changer. And their trade master perks like priority shipping and dedicated support, it makes the whole process smoother. So join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free service. Use the promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. And we'll talk about game time for a moment too, because college football is back and we could not be more excited. You got tailgates, you got rivalries, you got energy in the stands. There's nothing like it, but let's be real. Sometimes actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself, with those endless queues, hidden fees, and prices that jump at checkout. That's why I love Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. The easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best price with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay, and the app makes it simple to see the view from your own seats. You can take advantage of zone deals. Try that out. With zone deals, you pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and then you save money. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Interesting week in the Big Ten this week. Michigan challenged themselves with a non-con opponent where they headed to Oklahoma and lost 24-13. I say, Mitch, Nebraska's next opponent after Houston Christian, because yes, we are Houston Christian is Nebraska's
They're coming to town
opponent on Saturday. They got stomped kind of by Oklahoma. I mean, physically, especially up front. There was a couple offensive linemen that went down from Michigan. Bryce Underwood was under duress for the majority of the day. He ended up going 9 of 24. And they couldn't get anything going in the pass game either. Michigan, they were pretty dang close to getting close to shut out in that game. So it's Oklahoma took it to them. Oklahoma might be a pretty good team, but Michigan's got to go back to the drawing board here. It's
a tough time in Ann Arbor right now, no doubt. You have the true freshman quarterback, 2 games in. That was his first trip away from home. They were down 14-0 at halftime. You saw Underwood, the quarterback, having a little confrontation with Justice Haynes, Michigan's running back, on the sideline late in the first half. And then Haynes went and took a handoff 75 yards for a TD to open the third quarter and get Michigan on the board. And then, of course, there's the whole situation with Sharon Moore, Michigan's head coach. We made reference to that in the open of the show. So he's suspended for the next 2 games. Michigan plays Central Michigan at the Big House this Saturday. Moore can be with I got a clarification on this on Sunday. Moore can be with the Wolverines this week up until 12:01 a.m. on Saturday. So he's going to prepare. Yeah. Like, you have to leave the facility, sir. He's going to prepare Michigan for the CMU game and presumably do some look ahead to Nebraska here in the next 5 days. And then before kickoff on Saturday, or at midnight on Saturday, he has to leave. And then he cannot be with Michigan at all next week, leading up to the trip to Lincoln. He will not be in the state. He will be back home in Michigan when the Wolverines come to play at Nebraska on September 20th, 2:30 p.m. CBS.
Mitch, I think I think there's a chance that Nebraska's a teeny tiny favorite in that game.
Yeah. Michigan's still ranked 23rd in the country after the loss to Oklahoma. I was really curious about that. Assuming Michigan handles its business this Saturday, Michigan's going to come to Nebraska ranked. And Nebraska, I wrote about this today on The Athletic on Monday. It's not this is not about Nebraska snapping its 27 game losing streak against AP ranked teams.
Although
nice. It would be nice for Nebraska to do that, but that is such an item that's in the background. Like, whether Michigan's ranked or not, it's hugely important for Nebraska to take this step as a program. It is 0-11
over a program like Michigan, whether they are ranked or not.
It is 0-11 in the last decade against Michigan and Ohio State. 7 of those 11 losses have been by 31 points or more.
Yeah, that's significant. And then, of course, across the river in Ames, Iowa State beat Iowa 16-13. Iowa's offense is inept, but I feel like that's not new. But there was some elevated expectations offensively this year, given that they got a little bit better after the drive for 325 2 years ago, and now they brought in Mark Gronowski, the quarterback from South Dakota State. He was there last year and had been there the last few years. It has been very ugly for Gronowski so far this year. Some really bad low light plays. The stats are not piling up for him. With that being said, Iowa still lost on a field goal of 50+ yard field goal as time expired, or I'm sorry, inside 2 minutes to go. So they're kind of still Iowa, but maybe something to watch out for with the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, it's the same old. I mean, I watched before I headed to Lincoln the first quarter and a half of that game, saw Ben Bramer, the tight end from Pierce, Nebraska, make a great one-handed catch in the end zone to put the Clones up 13-3. And you kind of had the sense like Iowa State's controlling this game. Like, they might score again before halftime, be up 20-3 and have a relaxed second half somewhat. No, Iowa does its Iowa thing and beat the Cyclones up a bit at the line of scrimmage and stayed in the game and looked for a good chunk of the second half like it was just going to be one of those Iowa wins that was as ugly as you could possibly ever be. But Iowa State and Rocco Becht, as Iowa State does, and he's a clutch quarterback. I mean, you go back to like the Brock Purdy days, and Iowa State has had some guys like this, but Becht is as good as anybody that Matt Campbell has had at just handling those moments late in games. You saw it against Kansas State and Ireland, and then you saw it again on Saturday at Jack Trice. He led them down the field, managed the clock well, didn't take a sack when it was absolutely essential that he not do it, and got his kicker in position to win the game. And once Iowa took possession with a minute 50 to go, down 3, that offense is in no way built for a 2-minute drill. And they don't have Caleb Johnson this year at running back, an All-American. So
I will say that they will get, in the next couple of weeks, they'll get Kamari Moulton back, who's really their top guy at that position. And he was the duo, the other of the duo with Caleb Johnson last year. Moulton took a couple carries in their first game against Albany and got hurt. So he'll be back eventually. And they need any obviously spark that they could get. So Iowa, I don't think is that far off what they have been in the past. Penn State was only up 10-0 at the half against FIU. They ended up winning 34-0. Minnesota called the game early, I think, against Northwestern State. They won 66-0. They got of fireworks at up in Dinkytown.
There's another one right there.
As did Nebraska. Yeah,
that's another. I mean, 66-2. Wow. I mean,
it's tough. And Ohio State brought in Grambling. They had a band off at the game. Grambling is, of course, coached by Mickey Joseph, who had some hilarious comments last week about playing Ohio State. He said, we're going to compete in the band, but we know kind of what's going to happen. And it happened. They lost 70-0. Oregon absolutely destroyed Oklahoma State 69-3. UCLA, I think, was down 30-0 at one point, and lost. Ended up coming back at the end, but still lost by a touchdown to UNLV. And Michigan State, Boston College went to overtime, where Michigan State was able to get out of there with a win.
Yeah, some of those games are more interesting to Nebraska than others. The UCLA game, and it's been a disastrous start out in LA for Deshaun Foster and Nico and that crew. UNLV's first win against a Big Ten team in 22 years.
By the way, they were down, I should correct this, 23-3 at one point.
Yeah.
And at halftime.
That's not going well. And of course, Nebraska goes to the Rose Bowl to play UCLA this year. I mean, UCLA got off to a bad start last year, and then by the time Nebraska saw the Bruins, it was too much for the Huskers. So we're not gonna like chalk that up as a in the win column for Nebraska at this point. But there's I would say like danger time for UCLA to like lose a handle on its season. The Michigan State thing is interesting because that's the game that like we're not talking about here, but it comes on the heels right after the Michigan game. So if Nebraska is able, and we'll spend the next 11, 12 days talking about this, but if Nebraska is able to climb that mountain and knock off Michigan in the streak against ranked opponents and in the streak against the blue bloods of the Big Ten, boy, that Michigan State game on the heels of it is dangerous. Like that's not probably the team that you just want to see looming there. It is in Lincoln, but
you gotta quite the path if you get through Michigan. That's gonna be a conversation for them. But it's very interesting. And then
Florida went down at USF.
That was great.
And Florida is headed for a murderer's row. Like Wisconsin has a murderer's row coming up. The Badgers are 2-0. They go to Alabama this week. But Florida and DJ Lagway, the sophomore quarterback who was crowned the greatest of the true freshmen last year, it's not looking like there's some bumps in the road for Lagway and the game.
They had a great moment where they had a guy spit on a guy and then got a unsportsmanlike conduct 15-yard penalty, led to a big 30-yard play, and got USF in position to make a chip shot field goal to win the game. And boy, did they dunk on them afterwards, as they should, as an in-state group of 5, team. So South Florida might be halfway decent this year, first of all, and they could potentially be the G5 playoff contender at this point.
I believe South Florida has Miami this week. Yeah. Well, if they do that, if they pull off that double, then yeah, like they're going to be the favorite for the G5 playoff spot. UNLV, we mentioned, is another one to watch for that spot. That's not the thing that you want to be copying from the NFL, is spitting in an opponent's face. I saw the video of the USF coaches running through the Florida press box on the way to the elevator at the end of that game.
Themselves.
Yeah, that was the sight. So
pretty good.
All right.
Well,
let's take a break.
Yeah, we got a couple things left that we want to get to here. Oh yes, the moon. Let's talk about the moon for at least a minute or two, and a couple more as we get out of here on the Locked On Nebraska podcast. But first, I know somebody sounds like over there, Mitch, is excited about the game cap. What? You should put your dog in one of the game caps, one of these awesome vintage caps from the 80s and 90s.
You should do that. I just have one. And there was a 14-year-old in my house who was wearing it to Memorial Stadium on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. They absolutely love these things. So it's like basically jumping inside of a time machine and jumping to either see yourself or what you would have been had you been in your body in the 80s and 90s. Just, turn back the clock a little bit.
I understand.
Vintage hats are fantastic. Yes, I'm making a lot of sense right now. The vintage styles that everyone wore and that are really cool right now are available for you on the game caps. And when you use the code LOCKEDONCollege at the game, you're going to get that vintage hat for $16.99. We had some, of course, sent to us, and they've been taken by cooler people than us, which is absolutely fantastic. Thegamecaps.com. Once again, thegamecaps.com. Grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use the code LOCKEDON for an exclusive discount, because legends wear the game.
All right, welcome back. Final segment, Locked On Nebraska, Monday episode. If you missed our reaction pod, we had a reaction pod that posted on Sunday midday. No problems finding that on YouTube, Spotify, but there was a delay on the Apple Podcasts platform. So check your feeds. It's there now. And we talked more in depth about Dylan Raiola, TJ Lateef, and all of the pieces and players who shined in Nebraska's 68-0 victory over Akron. So that is there for you. And we are going to talk now about the moon. So
yes, the moon.
Last night at 10:31 p.m. on the Husker football social feeds, there is simply a picture of the blood red moon, which was a thing for like an hour or something going. I don't know what was going on, but this is like a fall phenomenon when things happen astronomically in the world of astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a picture that Nebraska posted. Is that an hourglass above it that was distributed? All right. So what do you make of this?
Well, the internet seems to think that Nebraska is going to wear all red jerseys on Saturday, like red jerseys and red pants. And I had sort of heard before the year that they were going to do that once, and this might be the right game to do it. So those pieces might be coming together. I don't know one way or the other, but it makes a lot of sense in my head. Let's just say that.
And that theory sounds as good as anything. When I saw it, and at that point I had turned off the Sunday Night Football because I thought the game was over between Buffalo and Baltimore. It was not. So I messed that up royally, but I was still awake, and I did see the post come out from Nebraska, and I just thought, oh, the moon's red. Go Big Red. Nebraska's posting about it. nothing crossed my mind that this might be an
Check
indicator.
out this moon. Nice moon. It's like when they have. I did a soccer broadcast on Friday night, and the TV the producers back in the truck, they come in my ear and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna come back from this break, and we got a shot of the moon." I think it's an FCC requirement that when there is a full moon or something that appears to be a full moon, that you have to show a big full picture of the moon. So Mitch just thought that that's what Nebraska was doing. It's a nice big moon, and here it is.
It's red. So we'll see. I wonder if Matt Rhule will get asked about this today. I don't.
I'm sure.
Oh, I don't. Do you ask the coach about? Maybe. Why not? He talks about everything else.
He's just going to
talk about it on his podcast.
It's a surprise. Although I would appreciate if he said, like, yeah, we're going to wear the red jerseys this week. That way we could just have something to talk about for 4 days. It would be really annoying, but I would like to have something to talk about for 4 days.
What's your take? Like, should they wear all red? Would you be in favor of all red?
I'm cool with it. Yeah.
It's better than all white, isn't it?
I like all white too. I'm fine with it. I know Nebraska has a bit of a tortured history in the all white, but I'm fine with the combos.
The thing with going with a different color or not the normal combo this week is that there's absolutely no risk that you're going to like jinx the situation. Now, I shouldn't say that because like things could happen. They're not going to lose the game, but like you could have an injury of some sort. So
they could turn into the most cursed uniforms of all time, of course, if they lose. They're
not going to lose, but like you could have it could be a disastrous day in other ways. So yeah, that's be careful for that. Like it's just because you know that you're safe from losing, you still don't want to bestow bad things on your program when it's not necessary. So as we said, Rhule today, late morning, his normal Monday press conference, going to talk, I'm sure, about what Nebraska needs to do this week to stay on task. They got to stay healthy. They need to continue to make a step forward. If you're not moving forward, you're moving back. I'm sure want to work on some short yardage stuff. Nebraska wasn't exactly dominant in the way that you might have expected with what the score looked like at the line of scrimmage on Saturday. And I looked at that and I said they had 9 TFLs, they had 2 sacks. But, there was at times a little bit of running room for Akron, which got shut out. Nebraska had the problem at the goal line in the first half. So there's a few things that they can work on for sure. I'm sure this question will come up. Like when you watched the film, what did you see that could be worked on? And he'll say that there's plenty to be worked on.
Yeah, I think he'll probably downplay it. He'll be like, yeah, we played okay. And now we just got to, we just got a lot of stuff to work on this week, and we're just going to keep working on it. Yeah, he'll do that. I think that game was about letting Nebraska's team feel confident about itself and feel good about itself, and have fun and dance around on the field and watch the light show and feel good about yourself playing football against a live opponent. And they'll have another chance to stack that this week, and that's what it's really about. But I imagine Matt Rhule will just downplay the entire thing, and we'll just say, yeah, we played okay. We got some stuff to work on, and we're going to try and work on that this week.
It worked last week for Rhule and then Holgorsen and Butler on Tuesday to just be really kind of crusty and curmudgeon-y. And I think that was maybe the mood around Nebraska football from the message from the coaches to the players throughout the early portions of last week. You even heard Holgorsen talk on Tuesday about how Nebraska wasn't getting it done in the way that he wanted in practice. 4 days after the opener when it came to producing big plays. So I don't think that they're going to switch up all of a sudden because it looked much more like a finished product or a solid product in the home opener. I don't think they're going to switch up and be very, very happy, just all of a sudden jovial about the situation here in week 3.
All right, so we'll hear from Matt Rhule, I'm sure, tomorrow on the show. And yes, we'll get ready we'll continue on with Michigan Week Part 1. Next week is Michigan Week Part 2. So enjoy the giant lead up to the Michigan game. It's
yeah.
another big moment for Locked On college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV present the College Football Kickoff Show, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll, who of Locked On Big 12, Gary Patterson, you remember Gary Patterson, Jesse Holly, Locked On's local experts, all joining Locked On College Football Kickoff, a college football preview only Locked On can do. You can catch it every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV.